It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
If you drive a car, truck, SUV, or vehicle of any kind, you need Get Upside, the free gas app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy. That's right. With the free Get Upside gas app, you can get up to 25 cents a gallon cash back every time you buy gas. Nearly 3 million people have earned cash back with Get Upside just for buying gas.
I always use Get Upside. Some months I make $200 to $300.
I love getting money back for things I use every day. It's just free money for buying gas.
There's no catch. It's simple. And you get your cash back right away.
Download the free Get Upside app now in the App Store or Google Play to save up to 25 cents per gallon when you buy gas. Use promo code SALE for a 25-cent per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's up to 50 cents a gallon on your next fill-up. You can cash out anytime to PayPal or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Earn cash back on gas on every fill-up. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code SALE for a 25-cent per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code SALE.
You are Locked On Utes, your daily podcast on the Utah Utes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Utes. A lot to get to ahead on this Thursday edition of the show. Brian, you are back. I hope to never have you not be on the show moving forward, because obviously we miss our brown bear. But what are we going to talk about on today's podcast?
Jake, I'm back because I was afraid that I was going to lose my spot here in the chair. And chairs, I don't know. It's like everything else in the world, Jake. It's hard to get them right now. So I got to keep my bear derriere in this here chair so that we can talk and I can finally tell people everything that I know about Cam Rising and Charlie Brewer, which is nothing.
Well, we're going to dig into it, obviously. That's the big news of the week this week as they get ready to open Pac-12 play, speaking of the Utes against Washington State. We'll dig into a whole lot of that stuff. Make sure you guys are up to speed on the latest involving the quarterback situation and obviously everything else going on with the Utes. A quick reminder for you guys to make sure you check out the Locked On Pac-12 podcast. Cindy Robinson covers everything going on in the Pac every single day. Brian Brown, obviously a co-host of that from time to time. Download it or get it wherever you get your podcasts, or also check it out on the Odyssey app. All right, without further ado, though, here on a Thursday, let's get rolling. This is the Locked On Utes podcast for September 23rd, 2021. Once again, this is the Locked On Utes podcast, your only daily podcast focused on all things University of Utah. I'm Jake Hatch, joined as always by my fearless co-host, or not joined as always, but returning to the co-host chair, and obviously the man, the myth, the legend himself, the brown bear in the chair, Brian Brown. What is up, mi amigo?
Appreciate first off, I want to say huge thank you to Alex Lundberg for filling in to me. It may be something that we try to do a little bit more as the season goes on. I know that my and yours voices can be a little bit, you've heard a lot of us. So I know I always say this too, but we're finally getting to that point. Really appreciate you guys stepping up and allowing me a couple days. The day job is crazy right now, but a lot of good things happening. And I'm excited about that. Rebranding, new building, new stuffs, new equipments. So really, I'll talk a little bit more on my other podcasts that aren't Locked On Utes specific, because I think something big happened while I was technically gone.
Just a few things, you know.
Nephi Sewell spoke to the media. It was great. I loved it.
That
you never hear from Nephi. That was big time news.
He is, by the way, Nephi, good dude, but you're right. He does not speak to the media often. So,
no. Oh, even more news. Apparently, Dalton Kincaid, the latest Ute to sign an NIL.
I was going to say.
That was big news, too, while I was gone.
We need to talk about a certain other podcast that you happen to be a co-host of, the Ute Blockcast. Is it just the Utah Blockcast? I just call it the Blockcast. That's what I've always referred to it as.
Blockcast Pod. That's all that it is. It's just the Blockcast crew, the Blockheads. Blockcast. It was Steve and I tried to be clever and call it the Ute Zone Blockcast, as in zone block. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just evolved into its own little thing. But it was really we had an episode in the can, ran into some stuff. Maybe we'll release that It was excellent stuff. But no, that'll be fun. But I enough teasing, Jake. We're going to get to the point on this one. Big news.
Yeah, absolutely. Charlie Brewer exits, and it's an abrupt exit. There's no doubt about that. For him to be benched Saturday, tell Kyle Whittingham Monday that he intends to leave. Kyle Whittingham, as according to his own words, said they talked to him, weighed the pros and cons, asked him to sit on it, came back Tuesday morning, still felt that way. So Charlie Brewer is off to whatever is next for him. What was your reaction when you learned this news, Brian? Because obviously you were gone, and it's a crazy, crazy time for the Utes.
Yeah, I'll tell you, really, the best way to describe it is I'm sitting in my office. I'm doing a whole bunch of work. I'm talking on the phone. All of a sudden, I see my phone just flashing like crazy, and I'm getting text message after text message, and I'm like, what in the world is going on? Like thinking like, oh, no, it's somebody in my family. Something bad's happened. And it was Charlie Brewer transferred, and everybody had questions about what was going on. And at one point I said, hey, I'm as clueless as you are, because that's really what it was. It was out of the blue. And I think that was very indicative of Charlie's MO. Not that he didn't integrate with the team. And I think everybody's already talked about this, right? Like I texted a friend and they're like, man, like I'm paraphrasing here. Like whatever, he doesn't want to stick it out for the season. I wish him nothing. And I was like, let me throw it to you this way. Breaking news. The Utah football team announces they have cut Charlie Brewer and promoted Jaquindon Jackson from the practice squad, because that's essentially what it was, right? It was just Charlie asking for his release so that he could go to a different team. And that would be my hunch. People were asking, where is he going? And I don't know that he necessarily has a destination in mind. My thinking from how Kyle Whittingham paraphrased it and then how everything laid out is that he's likely going back to Texas. My anticipation would be that he's either going back there to train. His draft stock is not nearly where it needs to be in order to try and really make it in the NFL, either as a draft pick or an undrafted free agent. So probably go back home, train, get in shape, and maybe, since he does have a redshirt year, maybe try and catch on somewhere else.
Yeah, so let me interject here. I've talked with multiple people in the media down there in Texas, as well as people back here in Utah, and the prevailing notion is, and most people believe, that the reason he left Utah when he did now was to preserve that eligibility. Obviously, we all know the redshirt rules now indicate that if you can play up to 4 games and keep your eligibility intact. You can keep that redshirt year intact. Does that mean that you're going to see Charlie Brewer suiting up for another college program next year? That still is very much to be determined, but all indications are, yes, that he's going closer to home. He's going back to Texas to kind of determine what is next for him. Anything else that I learned with regards to that, and trust me, I've taken many a phone call from both people down there in Texas as well as up here in Utah going back and forth, is that he is still trying to figure out what his future holds, but he wanted to keep all options on the table. Thus, the reason for him to depart now, preserve that redshirt year, to redshirt this year, preserve that year of eligibility, but also at the same time, maybe give himself an opportunity to train and potentially, if the NFL comes calling, make that decision as well.
Yeah, and look, here's the thing with football, and this is a hard concept for people to understand when you're a fan of a team, right? Because your loyalties lie with the laundry. And really where Charlie's loyalties lie at this point is with the game itself. And people are always going to try and take the game away from you. They're going to tell you that you're too much this or you're not good enough for this, that, or the other. And so I have zero problem with someone who wants to go out and pursue their dream and their love for the rest of their life for as long as they can. I was one where I'm at the end of my career, quote unquote, on my own terms. I knew that my body was getting, I was getting older. I was not getting paid to play this game anymore. I was ready to transition to a different phase. I had never had a fall without football in my life. So there were things like that at 25, 26 that I was just like, I'm ready for these kinds of things. But that doesn't mean that I miss it any less every year when it comes around. And that's the biggest thing that you hear from people as you transition on. Like, you're never going to get over that. You're never going to get over the thrills on Saturdays. So for Charlie, whatever you can do to keep doing that, go do it, and people are going to say, well, he should have stuck it out. Sure. Yeah. In your opinion, he should have. But in Charlie's opinion, he's got to do whatever he can to keep playing the game of football for as long as he can. And that's what he decided that was best. And, I wish him well, support him, whatever. I think I was pretty clear all along that if it was my choice, I was going to start Cam Rising. And I think, we saw about a quarter and a half of that. I think a lot of the I don't know if we're actually excited about the actual potential of Cam Rising starting, or if it's just using the Thick Boys 7 hashtag, which the origins of such, who even knows?
We're going to discuss that here in a moment, but we need to dig into that. But it is a very interesting situation, obviously, Brian. And we're gonna talk more about Cameron Rising because I want your take on what you expect from him. And by the way, for those of you who may be listening to this wondering, why is this a repeat of Wednesday's show? Well, Brian's back, so it's his opportunity to kind of sound off on the same stuff. We had, obviously, Lundy on yesterday. But coming up in just a moment, we will switch over and talk a little bit about hashtag ThickBoy7. We do need to talk about that because it's being embraced by none other than the Utah official Twitter feed. So,
yeah, the trend that is sweeping the nation. So, shout out to our favoritist of Thick Boys, although not the thickest of rising Thick Boys.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, but first, Brian, let's take a minute today and talk about our friends over at Rock Auto. You and I have both used this resource. The best part about it is they've got all the manufacturers, all the parts. This is not you going to the local auto parts store, them looking stuff up on their computer and saying, okay, I have option A, B, and maybe in some cases C. You have every option available to you under the sun when you go to rockauto.com, and that is probably the best feature about it.
Yeah, it is. And, we've both had adventures with vehicles throughout the year that we've been doing the podcast, and Rock Auto has come in handy on multiple occasions for me. I got something I got to replace on the car, hoping maybe on the bye week we'll get to that one. But the good news, I got the part. It just came right to my door. It's the exact part that I need. That's the benefit of going with a company that's been in business for 20 years doing this particular type of work. That's the benefit of going through a family-owned business where they actually care about it on a very deep level. It's very personal to them. And that's the benefit of going through a company that has everything laid out for you, easy to use, and you have the book of goodness behind the counter, that old Jethro been holding hostage forever and all times. Like, that's yours now. You got it. It's just right there on your computer screen. So I don't know why I go redneck hick every single time I have to do this read, I should say. But maybe it's because that's just where I feel most comfortable when I'm fixing my car.
Well, you're exactly right. Everything you said is absolutely 100% the truth. So we want to encourage you guys, go to rockauto.com and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Make sure, please write Locked On in the How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that we sent you. We want some credit for having you guys go check that out. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car, truck, or SUV will ever need. That's rockauto.com. All right, Brown Bear, it is your time to shine. Let's talk about hashtag ThickBoy7, a.k.a. Cam Rising. He is now QB1. And by the way, the whole hashtag ThickBoy7 thing, there are people out there, it makes me uncomfortable to see people talking about it. You know what? Have some fun, folks. Social media is meant to be fun. It's not life or death. Can we just have some fun with this?
I think the only thing that makes me uncomfortable is the fact that ThickBoy7 is now challenging Chuck Norris jokes for things that have already taken over the world.
Good point.
Definitely, I'm a little bit nervous for Saturday just because if we're talking about the actual real ThickBoy7, a.k.a. Pudgy Baker Mayfield, a.k.a. The second thickest with 2 C's Rising. Shout out to older brother Tyson Rising. Tyson, I believe, is his older brother. Played at ASU, was a tackle down there. So we really understand that the true talent in the Rising family lies with him. But that this is what's fun about social media, right? This is what's fun about programs and things like that is nicknames. And I love that Ali'i Numatalolo kind of added to the legend that is Boy7. Credit to Josh Newman for digging in on the origins of that one. I know that a listener to the program and organizationer, that's not a word, organizer of the Utah Open, Connor Schoen, taking credit for the Thick Boy hashtag. And I think that somewhere in that crew was the origination of that. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Steve and I were talking about it. We said, he's thick with 2 C's. And that was the genesis of it. So I'm not taking credit for it because this has gotten way out of control. What I think, along with my take talking about a freaking hashtag, what I think is interesting is what this change has brought to the team, right? Like, I think that's the bigger, they're having fun. Like, there was a cloud that was over the program, whether it was fair or not. Like, this is not a program that's experienced a lot of losing, let alone back-to-back games and out of conferences. I think the stats out there a lot that it's been 19 years since it's happened previously. Now people are having fun. There's a lot of positivity. And that's good. That's how you get programs back on track. Now, they still have to do the work at practice and everything like that. And here's the other caveat that I want to throw out there. We still don't know what Cam Rising's flaws are. We just saw a quarter and a half of what he's really good at. How does that translate into Saturday? That's going to be the biggest question.
And that's the thing about it. I mentioned this to Lundy yesterday, Brian, is what we saw in that brief glimpse of the 2020 version of Cam Rising was absolutely phenomenal. It was so tantalizing, and that's something that I think we all banked on as we were looking forward to this year. Obviously, they went with Charlie Brewer. They opted to give him the start in the first 3 games. But then when Cam Rising came into that San Diego State game, once again, just that tantalizing aspect of his skill set, that game-breaking ability, the ability to make plays on the fly, we saw it once again. We are finally, and I feel like finally, going to see Cam Rising fully in his element come Saturday when they take on Washington State. And I, for one, and correct me if you disagree here, I, for one, look forward to seeing him finally play out a full game as quarterback 1 at the University of Utah, and I just want to see how he will function with a full 60-minute football game.
Yeah, what we're going to see now is we're going to see if the coaching staff has gotten the message along with, everybody else that this offense needs to go up tempo. And we've heard the guys talk about it, right? Like Nick Ford mentioned, I believe it was on with you guys, if I'm not mistaken, where he talked about, like, we're in pretty good shape. We want to go up tempo. And I don't know why. This could be an entire week's worth of speculation about, Kyle Whittingham and things. We talked all offseason about how he was doing everything that he wanted to do, and he was going to do it his way. And it transitioned over into the season. He wants to play 50-play games. He wants to minimize mistakes. He wants to do all these things. And the fact of the matter is this team is not built for that. They're built to go fast. And just like Reese and Ricky Bobby, Cam Rising really wants to rise to the challenge and speed up the offense as well. And you saw that. Like, that was the best thing that I saw from him on Saturday. And I think it helped that they got the offensive line settled up front. Moving Bam Olasheni to the right side was a mistake. Bottom line, in my opinion, he was not effective. You could see in his movements that he was slow and thinking through it. It didn't look like it was natural to him. On top of that, having a guy who's that big, 6'8", and that wide at 330, it's really hard. And you think about it, right-handed quarterbacks start throwing over that right side all the time. And you saw it a couple times that Charlie Brewer couldn't get around it. Well, all of a sudden you switch Braden Daniels out there. And I think Rising did a lot in terms of moving the pocket, getting outside the pocket, breaking tackles, being, strong and stout and slippery, as it were, to help buy his guys some time. But he also put a lot of doubt in the defense by doing all that stuff. And so I think all that stuff has to come back this week. Right. I said to somebody earlier this week that this is probably the worst defensive front that Utah's faced all year in Washington State. But just because they're not as good as a BYU or a San Diego State or even a Weber State has been, doesn't mean that you can let off the gas and think that this is going to be an easy win or a cruise to victory. They've got to do those same schematic things. They got to get Cam outside the pocket. They got to get him putting doubt in defenders' heads with what he's going to do with his legs. Otherwise, this offense is going to fall flat on its face again because people are just going to walk 9 down in the box. They're just going to slant and blitz and do all kinds of stunts, or drop 8, which they were doing at times, and they did a great job of mixing it up. San Diego State did, and I'm going on too long with this, but that's why I shouldn't take 2 days off, right?
But you're dead on with that, because the way San Diego State mixed up the defensive just alignments they went with, because that 3-3-5 is a unique look. Let's be clear about that. They bring blitzes from all over, but at times they also did drop 8 into coverage, and it seemed to fluster what Utah was trying to do. I do wonder how much up-tempo Utah will utilize. And I also do have a question, Brian, is if this is something that Andy Ludwig is ready to commit to. Does that make sense? He has always had his own unique brand of being an offensive coordinator, and I do wonder if he's going to go under a little bit of a transformation here and buy in and go all in on an up-tempo kind of true spread element. And also, will Kyle Whittingham sign off on it? There's obviously that question that looms.
Here's the bottom line. Kyle Whittingham doesn't want to lose any more games.
Good point.
And so I think we've given Kyle credit in the past for being adaptive. He just has to realize, and here's the other part of it too. This defense is starting to get nicked up a little bit. Lost Viana Mwalo, lost JT Broughton.
Mm-hmm.
At this point in time, you're limiting to opponents to 20 points is not going to be the case. You've got to be explosive on offense, and the best way to do that. And I said this before. I felt like, in years past, like Tyler Huntley had gotten the start because he was the guy that could be most explosive within the offense. I feel the same way about Cam Rising. I heard somebody talking about how Utah shouldn't run him. Like, throw that out the window, because if he does get hurt, he could get hurt just as easily sitting back in the pocket. But if he does get hurt, you're going to have to run the quarterback all the time anyways, because Jaquindon Jackson, that's the best skill set that he has. So go ahead, run Cam, a little bit more. Quit trying to pull all this BS, we're faking the quarterback run and everybody's going to buy in, because people haven't been buying it for years because you never handed off, or you never pull the hand off.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. You just have to have that threat. And
yeah,
the threat,
you have to use it. You can't just sit back there and think like the potential of threat is going to do it, right? Like, I can say like, yeah, I'm going to go upstairs and get a bat and I'm going to beat everything down in your room, Jake, and then you'll be sorry. And what are you going to do? Go do it. You're going to say, go do it, Brown Bear, or Brian. I guess I could use my real name.
Prove it, Brian. Prove it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And that's what defense has been doing to Utah all along, is saying, prove it, swing the bat, come hit something, and they haven't. And so you've got to make those moves now. There's no time to waste. There's no time to try and figure things out. I think they made moves up front to be a little bit more physical. I'm not saying that the offensive line is fixed, because a lot of it is what's going on, inside your your Matthew McConaughey, your heart.
Yeah.
And they've got to find that. But I think that Rising brings a lot of energy, and that's going to help a lot with that kind of thing. You've got a guy back there that they feel like if they screw up, he can cover their mistakes. That makes it a lot easier to be aggressive up front. You're not thinking through things as much. You're not worried about it, right? Like, you don't have a Charlie Brewer back there with 6 concussions, like what's his face in I had the perfect metaphor. The dude in the movie, not another high school teen movie, right? Where he's got the concussion count on the scoreboard.
Oh, yeah.
So concussion count's wiped away.
Yeah.
It's Billy Bob, but it's not Billy Bob, something else. Anyways, I apologize, everybody. I'm rusty from not doing an episode for so long, but like, you're free. Yeah. Free to run things the way that it should be.
Okay, so I want to ask one more question of you, Brian, before we go here. So we'll get to that here in just a moment, but let's take a minute and talk about our friends over at Sweatblock. You and I have both tried this product. It's pretty fascinating, if I'm being honest. It's a clinical strength antiperspirant wipe, folks, that lasts for up to 7 days, keeping you dry. It's incredible. It's been tested on the Rachel Ray Show by actual firefighters. It's a bestseller on Amazon. It's a really, really unique product. And Brian, we all have had those, and I like to call it I like to call in Southwest here, the want to get away moments, just kind of those awkward moments, or also maybe a big potential opportunity at work, and you're just getting nervous. Well, Sweatblock is here to help you save the day.
It is. I'm getting sweaty right now, Jake. I got lights on all over the place, trying to brighten up my world. You can see it dripping, but guess what? Underneath, we're dry. I'm even wearing a very light colored shirt right now, which if I was sweaty, oh boy, would there be just Lake Erie and Lake Superior under right and left here. And luckily, I got the sweat block swag pack. It's not just a sweat block. Like, the wipes are great. Like, you just do it once a week, boom, you're set to go. They throw in the deodorant, which it's got a nice scent to it. They've also got this lotion. I don't know if you've done the lotion, man, but woo, my undercarriage is clean and moisturized and happy.
Yeah.
And that a happy undercarriage leads to a happy brown bear.
There's no doubt about that. I think all of us can agree on that. If you guys want to give any of this a shot, get over to sweatblock.com. You can get 20% off on sweatblock.com using the promo code LOCKEDON. As we mentioned, it is a bestseller on Amazon, over 13,000 Amazon reviews. You can get it there, or you also can get it at your local CVS pharmacy on the shelves there. But if you want to save that 20% off, it's available at sweatblock.com using the promo code LOCKEDON. Brian, let's talk a little bit about our friends over at Bet Online. I know that you have been an advocate or just a fan in the past of trying different betting formats when it comes to your sports betting. What has been the latest in the Brown Bears world of what you've been given a shot?
We're into parlays, Jake. We're back into
we're still rolling
trying
parlay,
to throw out
right?
a parlay a day. That's right. Because listen. It's been a rough season when you're betting on your favorite team. No, I would never do that. If gambling were legal, and that were something that happened, then I would think about putting money down on my favorite team and maybe not have done so well. And so parlays are the ways to catch up. It's like when you've had a bad night in Vegas and you go hit the slot machine and you hope that one of those quarters hits.
Yeah, just all you need is that one hit. And the best part is, folks, if you want to give it a shot, BetOnline is your number one spot, and especially for all the pro and college football action this season. They've got a new updated website and interface. It's really, really clean. It's neat. Even more odds, props, and contests. BetOnline.ag is your resource. Head to the website now or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 100% welcome bonus. Brian, double people's money. It's really, really cool. All they got to do is when they sign up, use the promo code NFL100 to take advantage of that offer. So give it a shot, folks, from football to basketball to boxing to parlays, as Brian's been playing around with, right down to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait and take advantage of all the amazing offers available from our friends at BetOnline, as they are your online sportsbook experts. Before we go here on this Thursday edition of the podcast, Brian, let's just kind of get your thought going into this game against Washington State of what you want to see from Utah. It is my opinion that not all of the issues that Utah will be trying to fix will be remedied by this Saturday, but I think they can begin to show signs that things are turning around here. What do you expect?
Energy. I think that's the biggest thing that I expect on Saturdays. I expect the energy to be a lot different. They'll be home in Rice-Eccles Stadium. Everybody is trying to push everybody to get there. It's an earlier game, 12:30. So you might not get as many stragglers in terms of the tailgate lot and whatnot. But, for those who are going to have to miss the game for little leagues and soccer and whatever else, get those tickets out to your single friends like myself. Find your life's version of Brown Bear and make sure that they get up to that game. And I think that's going to be a big catalyst to this team getting back on track. They just need to play with some energy, and they need to free themselves from all the doom and gloom. And I think offensively, Rising gives them an opportunity to do that. He's not the cure-all. You're going to need guys to step up. It was nice to see that Jalen Dixon is actually on the field again, because it seemed like he disappeared under the old style of offense, and really what I want to see is I want to see schematic changes. I want to see Utah be more aggressive on defense and on offense. I want to see more opportunities. It's been so vanilla and so laid back. Go get these guys. This is a team that you should beat. Even if you hadn't just lost 2 of your last 3, you should beat this team. So get after it, play with some energy. I think this Washington State Cougars team is a team that's just tired. They just look tired to me, and I think that game against USC, it was like they had plenty of opportunities and they kind of fumbled it away. And so this is a team that if you keep giving them opportunities like that and give them a chance to believe, now you're in trouble.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I think the biggest thing is you want to go into this bye week, the week following this, with some positivity. You want to have some momentum going in there rather than stumbling into the bye. So obviously we'll talk more about that game specifically on tomorrow's podcast, get you guys ready for it, game preview, players to know, all that stuff. You guys know what we do here on the podcast. But Brown Bear, before we go, you're back after a couple days off. What words of wisdom do you want to send us out on?
Oh, I got nothing wisdom wise, Jake, except for I had something earlier today and I forgot it. You know what? We're gonna go with an old Ted Lassoism. How about that?
Well, we went a whole episode without one, so we need it.
I said, Jake, as we're parting, if we see each other in our dreams, let's goof around a little bit, pretend like we don't know each other.
I like it. Well done. All right, that's going to do it for today's show. Hope you guys are all doing great out there. Please follow the show on social media. LockedOnUtes@gmail.com is the email address. LockedOnUtes on Twitter. Brown Bear SLC for Brian. Jacob C. Hatch for myself. And until next time, have a great rest of your day. This has been the Locked On Utes podcast for September 23rd, 2021. And we will talk to you guys tomorrow.